There we go. So welcome to this chapter meeting today. We have several points that we're going to cover, but broadly it's going to be an introduction. So an introduction to the chapter, an introduction to the leadership, an introduction to the management team, some developments that have been going on over the past several months, and of course we will be discussing the unit system as well. So as you've probably guessed by now, due to the way that Discord works, the majority of people here are muted, given the way that Discord Stages works. That's because it would be absolutely pandemonium if everyone had open mic. But if you would ever like to speak during any of the breakout activities, or we have a special Q&A section at the end, then do feel free to raise your hand within Discord, or alternatively type a message within the relevant thread and Herdo will ask that question on your behalf. But if you do have any questions as we go along, please do let a member of the management team know. So today we are going to meet the management team. You are going to see the individuals that I have selected to join me on the epic quest to delve into Ashes of Creation and to make sure we absolutely excel and dominate within the game. We're going to have a look at some of our new Discord channels in further detail, because although you've already seen those channels, some of them do have quite a bit of hidden detail and there are certain things that you will need to know. Then we're going to look at the unit system, the unit profile cards. We've got some examples and would like your feedback. And then finally, like I said, there is also that question and answer thread at the end of today's meeting where you can ask as many questions as you like. So moving on to meeting the management team. So this, in my opinion, is the most important part of today because the management team will define what we do in game and how we do it. So picking a management team was not an easy decision. It wasn't something that I took lightly. So, like you all know, Ashes of Creation is an incredibly complex game. Okay, you have everything from the castle system to the node system to open world dungeons to raids. You know, it's a very complex beast. Therefore, having a small management team isn't something that I felt would be particularly appropriate, because there are three distinct elements within the game. Okay, you have PvP, which is a system in its entirety, and you will be able to level up purely from PvP. Alternatively, you can engage in PvE, and that will be another viable way to level. And then finally, you have crafting. And the way Ashes is designed is almost on this triangle of different functions. So PvP, PvE, and crafting. Unlike other games, they all have a reliance on each other. Therefore, you can't neglect them. Okay, it's not like in previous MMOs that we've experienced where you rush to the end game, you maybe do a little bit of crafting on the side, but the best gear comes from grinding dungeons, spending tokens, or occasionally PvP. With Ashes, it's entirely different. And it's important to note that this team will evolve, it will grow, and it will change over time. Okay, so that's not to say the individuals we have on the team now will be there at release. And also, as the game grows and our knowledge grows, we will be increasing and recruiting more people to join this team. And so far, I've taken the approach where essentially I've used Alpha 1 as a benchmark. So if those individuals stepped up during Alpha 1, if they did particularly well in game, if they assisted the guild, helped with guild endeavors, then, I felt they were worth a shot. And these individuals are my lieutenants, okay? So any request from them is essentially a request from me. And as you know, I'm often very direct, so please do follow their instructions at all times. But if you have an issue, do let me know. So in terms of the planned team, At the top, surprise, surprise, yours truly. Then under that, we have broken down the management team into 3 parts. So we have PvE, PvP, and artisan management, which was previously known as crafting. So it's important to note here that some of these individuals are in different boxes. Okay, because when designing this management team, I don't just want people who are good in, say, PvP, who are good in, say, PvE. I want individuals who are PvX players. Okay, because again, just because you are a good PvPer in Ashes doesn't mean you're going to excel in the game, because you will need to PvE and you will also need to craft. Okay, all of these systems will be interlinked. For example, when you're going out in the world to find mounts to, tame, that is part of artisan management, of course, but then you will also need PvPers to protect you. And then you will need PvEers to assist in other aspects. So consequently, it's important to have a balanced team who really, include the best parts of all of these 3 aspects. So the key positions within this team, we have Niar, who is our raid leader. We have Valkar, Raybird, and Jampong, who are flexible and will undertake different roles. We have 4 shot callers within the PvP management team, because there is going to be a lot of PvP to shot call. And then finally, we have Bobby, who will theory craft for artisan and also other areas. We have Herdo, his crafting coordinator, and we have Jampong, who will be helping out with artisan and also PvE and potentially PvP. So quite a diverse team, but lots of different specialisms in there. So I thought it would personally be important for you to meet this team. Okay, all of us on Discord, we interact on a daily basis. However, I think it's only fair that you know about the individuals that you are getting into bed with, so to speak. So over the next few slides, we will have a look at each of these individuals. We will have a look at their experience, where they fit in the Ashes team, and what their general role is going to be. And I think one thing that is important to note, you will probably not like every member of this team. Okay, I know for a fact that some individuals do not like certain people, but these individuals have been chosen for their skills. Okay, in all of the guilds I have run, you will never find a guild where everybody likes everybody. But what I would say is treat these individuals with respect, and they will treat you with respect as well. But anyway, enough of that. So first of all, it's me. Okay, so personally myself as a guild leader, I've been quite involved in Hand of Unity, as I'm sure a lot of you know. I was the former chapter lead for that fantastic game known as Bless Online, did some helping out with WoW Classic, also led Shop Titans, and now I'm the current chapter lead for Ashes of Creation. In addition to this, I've run various different guilds in the past, okay? Everything from 500 member Zergs to smaller friendship groups. They each have their benefits and their limitations, but they have all been an experience. Before this, I was the officer of various guilds spread across different games, and this was a really fulfilling experience, okay? It taught me right, it taught me wrong, and it gave me various lessons that I hope to apply in my own leadership style. In terms of my server firsts, as I'm sure you all know and are sick of me mentioning, good old breeding. So I have server firsts in Black Desert Online for server first tier 7 female horse, and also for various Yatas in Arcage. In addition, I also have a server first in raiding as Chloromancer when it came to a game called Rift. And then finally, I was there and I led the raid when we came across the Red Dragon boss, or the Red Dragon Worm, in Ashes of Creation All for One. So personally, as a player, I do a bit of everything. Okay, I like PvE, I like PvP, and I also like crafting. Personally, I would probably gravitate more towards PvE, but it has been a case of learning to need to do a bit of everything. Okay, so don't you worry when it comes to Ashes of Creation. I will be keeping an eye on every element to make sure that everything is represented. So whether you like to craft items or you like to kill people or do dungeons, you will have something to do, and there will be a place for you in Ashes of Creation Alpha 2 and beyond. And my general role on the team is Chapter Lead and General Strategist.
Naris is not dead, it's just delay on stream.
It's just the delay, yeah.
Yeah, don't worry.
There we go. And I'll push it halfway through next time. I'm just learning the delay. And, it will get better as I get more used to YouTube streaming. I've never used it before. So in terms of my favourite German, Mr. Herdo. So Herdo has been with me for an awful long time. Okay, he started playing with me many years ago in Arcage, which is about 8 years ago now. He joined Hand of Unity in 2018 and has done an awful lot for the guild since then. So not only has he organised in-game events over various games that we've played, he also helped to organise our trip to Gamescom back in 2018, 2019, long time ago now. He's been playing MMOs for quite a while, and he has a deep-seated interest in Ashes of Creation. Okay, Herdo was here at the very beginning. He's good friends with Stephen, and he's even played Starbase with him. So, he lives and breathes Ashes of Creation. In addition to this, he is the creator and the architect of the unit system, which we will discuss later on today. And he also has created and maintains the HOU Guildbot. Within the chapter, he is responsible for crafting. Okay, he was the crafting guru. And in addition to that, he will be our quartermaster and our bank manager. So anything crafting, Herdo is your man. Then we move on to Raybird. I think everyone here will know Raybird because he is so sassy, he is so funny, but he's also very dependable. So Ray is our former WoW Classic chapter lead, and again he has been with me since Arcage, so 8 years ago, and he has also been a HOU officer since 2018. He's a bit unique because he has an interest in PvE and also PvP. He enjoys both of them very much, so therefore it's only natural for him to be a PvX coordinator. Then we move on to our favourite bold man, Mr. Bobby. So Bobby wasn't around for the original Arcage launch, and he joined us in late 2019. He quickly made his way up the ranks to officer due to his general charisma and good charm and love for mobile games. And since then, he has done theory crafting and data analytics in multiple games. He created a fantastic spreadsheet in Temtem, which had breeding timers, it had, kind of affiliation charts, and so much more. He also helped in Ashes of Creation Alpha 1 by cataloguing all of the stats, calculating the values, and even putting together a basic gear and kind of attribute calculator. So Bobby really lives and breathes spreadsheets. In addition to this, he is a former leader of a Star Wars The Old Republic guild and also a former raid leader. Bobby really loves Star Wars The Old Republic, and he is hoping that Ashes of Creation will bring some of that spark back. In terms of his domain, he is generally helping with, theory craft and data analytics across all aspects, but particularly crafting and also PvE. So he's going to be helping Herdo with logistics and analytics and coming up with the best way to min-max resources and to min-max crafting. Next, we move on to Voltaren. And for those of you who played Ashes of Creation Alpha 1, you will remember Voltaren. He was always online, he was always getting his grind on, and he was constantly trying to push the boundaries in game. Okay, I think he is one of the only people that actually crafted an endgame weapon because it took so many resources. But he was there and he did it. Okay, and Voltaren is a very experienced player. He's been an officer in various different guilds over the years, and he's also played lots of different MMOs, such as World of Warcraft, Lord of the Rings Online, and most akin to Ashes of Creation, good old Lineage. Okay, and he's got server firsts, including Lineage 2 Castle Owner, Lineage 2 Crafting, and he was also a very big deal in the arena. Okay, so Voltaren is a very PvP focused player, very into Ashes, and I could think of nobody better to help lead our forces in battle. His area of expertise, as you probably guessed, is PvP, and on our team he is one of our large-scale PvP shot callers. So when it comes to castle sieges, when it comes to large open-world battles, Voltaren will be there and he will be leading from the front. Now we move on to Relic, a person I nicknamed Marmite because you either love him or you hate him. Okay, but jokes aside, Relic is a very dedicated member of the community. Okay, and he is very experienced. He has led our forces in New World, where we did particularly well, if it was a little bit short-lived. He's also helped out in leading Fractured, when some of our members played Private Arcade, and also Arcade Unchained. He has a whole host of server firsts, which are spread throughout Arcade and are also taken from New World with Hand of Unity. Okay, so Relic was there when we made a name for ourselves on Fae. We were one of the most hated guilds on the server because we dominated, and Relic was instrumental in that. And that PvP experience and those server firsts and that basically winning by any means necessary attitude is something that I wanted on the roster, and that's why I added him. So within our team, he will be dealing with establishing a meta, shot calling, and general PvP. Now we move on to Mr. How do I say his name? Niar, there you go. God, it's been a long day already. So Niar, as many of you will know, has been our WoW Classic chapter lead for many years now. Okay, I've played with him quite extensively. I was the person who used to shout, dispel constantly in Molten Core, as I'm sure a lot of you will remember. But Niar is a WoW veteran. Okay, he's been involved in mythic raids. He's ground out rank 14 in PvP, Grand Marshal. He also survived meeting Sentego and a Cyril in real life, which is pretty damn impressive. He has server firsts over multiple games, and raiding really is his bread and butter. Okay, and for that reason, I've chosen Niar to be our raid leader. One of our raid leaders, because we will have multiple teams. So I'm very, very sure that Niar will lead us to victory. He will help us strategize. He will also help us lead those raids and overcome any obstacles that we may face. Then we move on to Mr. Malco. Okay, and Malco, as you can probably see, is a big and bulky guy, and that was why we chose him for main tank in our AOC Alpha 1. Okay, he pretty much got hit by every single boss in the game. Okay, but he tanked his way through it. We kept him up, and that was why we cleared all of the content in game. You could not have asked for a more stalwart or hardy tank. Alongside tanking and getting hit, Malco is also quite experienced over different games such as BDO, Elder Scrolls Online, and also Warhammer Online. He's been an officer in various different guilds and also runs his own business in real life, so he's very good with time management, very good with motivating people, and he also lives and breathes Ashes of Creation. When it comes to his role in the Ashes of Creation management team, again like Ray, he will be covering PvE and PvP. We will slot him in as necessary, okay, because he excels in both. His role on the team is going to be general management to help out where he can, and he will also be our main tank for Alpha 2 and hopefully beyond. Then we move on to Mr. Cadden. Okay, and Cadden, while he may not be as experienced in PvP and shot calling as other members of the team, he has arguably taken on the biggest foe imaginable online, and that would be me, because Cadden stands up to me like my own mother. Okay, and in any team, I'm sure you can agree, you need somebody to kick you up the ass occasionally. You need somebody to call you out on your bullshit. And Cadden does exactly that, okay? But alongside that, and keeping me in check, Cadden also has a very good attitude when it comes to gaming. He constantly wants to be the fastest. He constantly wants to be the best and establish the best way to do something. And this was why in AOC, non-NDA Alpha 1, he was basically, I think, the world's first level 15 in game. And that was when they didn't wipe, and then after they also wiped. He worked out routes from start to finish on how to level quickly. And, he refined that constantly. Alongside this, he led us to the first server-first successful siege victory. He found many speed bugs, and he also dabbles within Arc Rage. His primary domain is PvP, and he will be involved on the team as a shot caller and a min-maxer. Then we have Mr. Jampong, and some of you may remember Jampong from New World. He was very helpful in managing the team and also developing PvP builds and PvE builds and other min-max basically as required. He does a little bit of everything. And Jampong has been around for a long time. He's been with Hand of Unity since 2018. And similar to Bobby, he's all about spreadsheets. Okay, he likes to develop tools, Fairycraft, and also develop spreadsheets to achieve, the best builds, to be the best in your class. And that's something that we need on the management team to set that meta. Alongside that, he is also a retired guild leader from BDO. He was very into crafting and PvE in BDO and also developed a series of min-max workers. He's quite an active PvPer, and he had at least 10 alt accounts on a game called Fliff for AFK Vacuuming, which I've been told by a few people is quite impressive. So Jampong will be working in a PvE and a crafting capacity. He will be there if you need him to develop spreadsheets, tools, and help you with your builds. Then we move on to our biggest Ashes of Creation backer, Mr. Wololo. Okay, and he's currently at 5k pledged into the game, but he's thinking about increasing his stake. So as you can imagine, he's heavily invested in Ashes of Creation, even more so than me, I think. So Wololo has played Guild Wars 2 for many years. Okay, and there was a time when he was top 10 in the EU for PvP, and also was a monthly tournament winner. He is very involved in creating top tier builds and establishing a meta, and in addition to this, he's also very good and experienced when it comes to shot calling. Anything from 5v5 to 200 to 200, and also helping people to improve their builds and their positioning. His primary domain is PvP, and on our team, he will be a PvP small-scale shot caller in terms of squads, and maybe even bigger PvP as necessary. So thank you for bearing with me through that, folks. It was quite a bit of reading, but that is over with now. We've got the introductions out of the way, but if you do have any questions on what I've just discussed, there will be a short breakout activity after this. So now we're going to move on to the new Discord channels. Okay, and you already have access to these, but I felt it would be relevant to, pick out the most important bits because there is a lot to read. And now you know how my students feel in one of my lectures. I apologise. Anyway, so Ashes of Creation is very important to me, okay, as many of you will know. I've been around since the Kickstarter, I've seen guilds rise and fall, and I've invested my time, effort and money into Ashes of Creation and also into all of you within this community. And don't get me wrong, I realise that, I am striving for the very top when it comes to castle ownership, when it comes to a significant interest in a node, when it comes to server firsts, potentially even world firsts. Those are very lofty goals. And, as a result of those lofty goals, we need some lofty requirements. And I can appreciate some people may feel that I'm being unfair or I'm being overly strict, but if you feel that's the case, let me know. Okay, hopefully after today you will see why we are doing what we are doing and how it translates into success. So these channels aim to condense that into one place, okay, and they will change, they will grow as we move through testing. But here is the main information you need to know today. So the biggest one for a lot of people, and one of the main questions that I often get, is, what's the deal with this AOC roster verified tag? So as we've seen over the past few years, a lot can change, okay, when it comes to the pandemic, working from home, kind of the cost of living and things like that. Everything can change in a moment's notice. Therefore, we have the AOC roster verified tag. And what that essentially means is everyone who is here that has the red Ashes of Creation role just here, you are now on the Ashes of Creation roster. Okay, you have applied, you have been accepted. However, in several years' time, when Ashes of Creation actually comes out, we will be re-verifying people. Okay, because, certain individuals who have joined the community, they've disappeared, they may, have kids, they may start a family, they may stop gaming, lots of things will change. So when it comes to just before release, we will re-verify people. And currently, I am the only person on this Discord who has AOC roster verified, as far as I can remember. But, it is a case of, we're not saying that you're not on the roster or anything like that. It's just a case of re-verifying people. And if you do want to be on that roster and sail through that verification process, then, you can do the following things. Okay, and these are listed in order of priority. So first and foremost, we want people not just to view us as an Ashes of Creation waiting room. We want people to join this community. We want them to play other games together and develop that synergy. If you are good at the games that you play and you gain achievements, this always helps because, it gets our name out there. It develops the reputation of the guild. Some of you, you may not be absolutely fantastic in games, but you may be able to contribute in other ways when it comes to video editing, when it comes to, kind of making images, writing guides and things like that. That helps our members, that helps the community. It's also important to be active in text, okay, because a lot of people are active in text, but not so active in voice. Okay, so do try to join in with both because you will get to know people and it makes the community more active. It gives it more of a buzz. It's also important to help fellow community members. Okay, help people to play their classes, help them out if they have any requests, if they're reasonable. And then finally, abide by our rules. Okay, I'm aware that certain people here today may have been informally or formally warned by me, but just know that is not the end. Okay, you can redeem yourself. So to put that into simple terms, you through your actions can decide whether you, jumped ahead there, sorry. You can decide whether you want to be on the left side or the right side. Okay, so if you get involved with the community, if you are active on Discord and play games with HOU, then I see no issue with you being verified on the roster at release. Okay. On the other hand, if you join this community, knowing what you're getting yourself into, and you just treat it like an Ashes of Creation waiting room, then do expect some opposition. Okay. Do not expect to sail through that verification process because, we are a community. And if all of our members joined for Ashes of Creation and then disappeared into a release, we really wouldn't have much of a community left. Okay, it's the same for other games like Hytale, for WoW Classic when we were waiting. You've joined a community to get involved, and this is my very long-winded way of saying get involved. Okay, don't disappear behind the scenes and suddenly jump up at release and expect to be on the Ashes of Creation roster, because chances are you will not. Okay, so now we're moving on to some additional rules and principles within the chapter. Okay, so in addition to the Hand of Unity rules, the management team and I have put together these additional guidelines. So hopefully nothing here is too strenuous, nothing here is too demanding. Okay, we felt that these basic principles make the chapter a pleasant place to be. Okay, they make it a success and they make the expectations clear for everybody. I mean, I'm not going to read through all of these because you can all read in your own time. But the main thing is, we know there are going to be queues. Okay, do not moan about the queues, weather the storm, and, do it for the good of the community. Do it for the longevity of the server. If you have ideas, feed them back in the right place at the right time. Keep voice communications pleasant. Integrate with units and keep your profile updated. And just generally be nice, be pleasant. And if you follow these, you will have no issues whatsoever. I don't think there is anything here necessarily which is too demanding, but it's just written, it's set, it's clear, so everybody knows exactly where they stand. Anyway, enough talking from me. I can imagine you've probably zoned out and gone to YouTube. So now we're moving on to breakout activity 1. So for the next few minutes, take a little while to digest the information you've been given on the rules, the principles, the roster and the management team. And if you have any questions at all, please raise your hand if you would like to speak. Alternatively, type the message into the relevant thread and Herdo will read them out on your behalf.
I would like to repeat 2 questions that came up earlier.
Okay.
One was from Amber. I don't know if the question was serious, but I will take it serious for now. Notice that there are only males on the management team. And would you like to give any comment on that? Why there are no females?
So personally, I've picked individuals who I felt, did very well during Alpha 1. To me personally, their gender was irrelevant. I must admit I haven't really given that much thought. I judge the people based upon their abilities and whether they're male or female or they identify in another manner. If they're competent, they will be added to the management team.
Thank you. Sorry, Amber. Next question was from... give me a second. Went up a little bit. I don't know who it was. Wild Claws about the roster verified.
Mm-hmm.
If it applies to the main guild, second, or both.
So currently at this time, that just applies to the main guild. But potentially, depending on the interest in the second guild, it could be, a kind of milder version. But for the moment, that is just for the main guild.
Okay. Next question is from Palmer.
So personally, I would say that playing with the chapter within Hand of Unity probably carries a bit more weight for me personally. But playing games in any capacity and being on voice, for example, or interacting in text while playing those games, I would say that's also valid as well. Yeah, if you could save it for later on, mate, that would be great. But do feel free, if I've answered your question, you've got any kind of follow-up questions, if you're not happy with the answer or you want more detail, please do let me know.
Got more questions from Hexamore. Semi-serious question about queues. Will queue time be counted in the 25 hours per week? Just thinking about how to fit in the hours if there are 1+ hours queues every day.
So if there are queues, do not worry, we will factor this in. We're not machines, I won't be there with my calculator working out your hours going, well, Hexamore, you took a bathroom break and you had a 1 hour queue. No, don't worry, we will factor that in.
Another question from Immortality. I think that was during the recent live stream. He mentioned the use of gallows in nodes. Will we shame poor contributing guild members using said gallows?
No, we don't have any plans currently. We'll probably shame our enemies. But no, I don't think at the moment, as long as people are contributing within reason, I don't think they should be shamed.
Okay, I got 2 more raised hands. Avion first.
Hey, so I have a question. For example, there's going to be like 2 guilds, right? The main one and the more casual one. So how exactly, what's exactly going to be the difference between both of them? The first one, as far as I have understood, is you need like 25 hours minimum weekly gaming time. But let's say you're in a casual guild, right? You're playing like 20 hours or something like that. Can you still be involved with the main guild, like doing like bigger activities, or not?
Okay, good question. Thank you. So in terms of the guilds themselves, we're going to go into a little bit more detail in a moment. But just to answer your question, in terms of interaction. So whether you are in Hand of Unity or you are in Home of Unity, you will still be part of our overall community, okay? There will still be frequent interaction within game. We will all be living, the majority of us, around the same node. You will be welcome to join the same activities. You will be able to hang out together. There is going to be no hard distinction between these two groups apart from names, due to the number of players that we can have in a guild in Ashes of Creation. Okay, so don't for 1 minute think it's an us and them club. Don't think of it as 2 separate guilds. It is just one guild split over 2 different divisions. So please don't worry. Whether you're in Home of Unity or Hand of Unity, you're equally important and you will all be able to work together on a frequent basis.
All right, thanks.
Okay, I got 1 more request from Asko and 1 more question.
Okay.
Hello. Is this time to ask questions about to our PvP community?
That would probably come at the end,
At the
really,
end.
buddy. At the moment, it's just kind of the rules in the roster.
Okay, never mind.
All right, buddy.
Okay, and the last question for this segment is from Dave Way. How will the weekly hours be calculated or monitored?
So the weekly hours will be monitored using one of our bots, which can monitor game activity. And we will also verify ourselves as well. But as I say, don't get too hung up on these hour requirements because, we will be flexible. We won't be kind of saying, it has to be dead 25 hours each week. It may be 20 one week, 30 the next, for example.
If your question wasn't asked now, I wrote them down, so they might come up later.
Please can people try to ask Hand of Unity and our chapter-specific questions as well? If you have any Ashes of Creation questions, that's fine, ask away, but not really necessarily worth raising the hand for. Thank you.
Lovely. Okay then. So, funnily enough, as we just mentioned, there are 2 guilds within the chapter. Okay, and like I said, these different groups will be able to work together. They will be, existing together in the same node. They may do dungeons together, PvP together, and everything together. Okay, so don't think of these as 2 separate entities. They are essentially 2 departments within the same company who live next door to each other. So in terms of the standard guild, so 25 hours per week minimum. Okay, as I say, we're a little bit flexible with that, but 25 is the absolute minimum. It's for more semi-hardcore to hardcore players. So, it's not for people who want to take the game at their own pace. Okay, we will be rushing. We will have set orders. We will be in a set position grinding for weeks to level up our node and ensure that we don't get made a vassal by anyone else. Okay, so do keep that in mind. Due to limited slots on the roster, we won't be welcoming alt characters. We will make other arrangements for those, so do keep that in mind. And, generally it's designed for more hardcore-minded players, okay, who want to be involved in leveling up that first level 6 node, who want to be online 16 hours a day, sleeping for 8, and then coming back. Okay, it's not for everybody, I can appreciate that. Then we have the second guild, Home of Unity. So this mainly started out as a guild for people's friends and also people's family. But like we saw with the AOC roster verified, things change between now and release. Okay, and I know certain individuals on this Discord who joined and said, yeah, I can play 70 hours a week, easy. And now they've got a wife and 3 kids. Okay, so that's not going to be possible anymore. But rather than kind of say to them, well, sorry, mate, you're going to have to find a new guild, we've opened Home of Unity. Okay, so this guild has no minimum hour requirement. It's much more casual. You can have alt characters in there if you want, but it won't be, a guild full of alts. There will be a lot of players in there. It will have its own buzz. And it's designed for individuals who just, want to take their time. They want to explore. They don't want to rush around. And, they want to enjoy the world of Vera. So both of these playstyles is equally valid, and it's up to you which one that you feel you fit within, but just know that you are welcome within both. Then just very briefly, we have the new AOC chapter news channel. This was split out from the AOC news channel because obviously Intrepid post updates. We split them out into chapter news, so the chapter updates will come here. So do keep an eye on this channel, read it, because critical information will be here, like the meeting tonight, for example. Then we have the new update to AOC-roles. So the latest update for this is you can now select a guild preference. Okay, so if you would prefer to be in Hand of Unity, you can signify that here in the bot. Similarly, when it comes to Home of Unity, you can do that as well, and you are free to swap between them. Okay, it's not set in stone, so see how things go. So now we're moving on to the more interesting stuff, okay? The units, profile cards, and general updates. So a lot has been going on behind the scenes for this. Herdo, Emberstone, and other people have been working very hard on getting this done, and we are getting there with it, folks, okay? We now have the standard design for the units cards set out, and we are currently migrating to a new host. So for those of you who don't know, the unit system is a community or chapter-wide DKP system. Okay, it makes players accountable for their actions. So essentially what you put in to the chapter, you will get out. Okay, it stops management and leadership slacking, doing very little, because everyone can see how much they participate. Okay. Similarly, you can see those members who contribute a lot and they are rewarded, and you can see those players who don't contribute quite so much. Okay. Essentially, you get out what you put in. This system also allows individuals to focus on an area which interests them. Okay, so for example, in other games, as you probably guessed, I like to breed mounts. So in BDO, I spent the first, I think, week and a half of release on a wagon, riding it around, leveling up horses. Trouble was, my gear was awful. Okay, so I wasn't really very good in PvP. Whereas with the unit system, let's say I wanted to spend all day next to my freehold, just, kind of breeding mounts and training them up, I could then take those mounts and I could trade them with, say, PvPers. The PvPers will get units or tokens from killing players. They could then exchange these tokens with me for a mount. I could then take these tokens and I could buy an item from the guild store, or I could then exchange them with another player for weapon and armor. Okay, so consequently, I can play the game how I want to, but my gear doesn't lag behind, and it stops me from being a bit of a hindrance. Okay, so that is the general gist of the system. There is a full-length video voiced over by yours truly, and if you're not sick of my voice by now, after another half an hour, you certainly will be, but the link is in the slides, so do check that out. So here we go, folks. This is your unit card, okay, or your units card. So this will be commandable on the Discord, much like with Tatsumaki Bot. And when you run the / command, this information will appear. So despite being quite a condensed card, there is a lot of information here. So first of all, we have your status in the community, whether that is trial member, officer, and so on. We then have your shiny Discord picture, which is here at number 2. Number 3 contains customizable light crystals straight from the Underrealm. Okay, so these colors will be changeable based upon certain factors. Then we have in number 4 your current unit balance. Okay, and this balance will be subject to decay. Okay, and that decay will take months before it takes place, so please don't panic. And it shows the current amount of units that you have to spend. Then moving on to info panel number 5, we thought it would be quite useful to include character details. So the level of that character, the name of that character, the gear score, and also the class itself. So the primary and the secondary archetype. So the reason that Emberstone is coloured here in blue, which matches the Underrealm light crystals, is because that is Emberstone's main character. Then we move on to the slightly more technical stuff. So whereas number 4 showed your current units at this point in time, number 6 shows your overall standing. Okay, so it shows your total units. So keep in mind, again, this total over time will be subject to decay. And there is a further breakdown here in the example. But essentially, in relation to the other community members, the more units you have in total, the better your standing will be. And that's something that we're going to run over in a moment. Then we have number 7, which is quite simply your username. We have number 8, which is a title that you can set yourself, depending on what you've earned from and what you've purchased from the unit store. And that's, using in-game units, obviously not real world currency. Just wanted to clarify that. We then have number 9, which is your activity preference. Okay, so what you prefer to do, whether PvP, artisan, or PvE. We then have your artisan skills themselves. And then finally, in box number 11, we have achievement badges. It can be unlocked, okay, and these will be available depending on what you do in game. So much like in games like Overwatch, League of Legends, and so on, you have a ranking system, okay? So based upon your total number of units collected, subject to decay, if you are in the 80% to 100%, so essentially, if you are at the lowest end in the 80% to 100% bracket, you will be 1 star, okay? You will be bronze. Good old YouTube delay. Then, if you are in the 79 to 60% of people, you will become silver. Okay, so Unity will change to silver and you will get 2 stars. Then, if you are in the top 40 to 59 percentile, you will become gold. Okay, so as you can see, the stars are gradually increasing and Unity is changing. Then, if you are in the top 20 to 39% of players, you will become platinum. So as you can see, these are very similar to other games such as League of Legends and also Overwatch. If you hit top 11% to 19%, you will become diamond. Okay, so 5 stars, diamond. And then finally, if you hit top 10% of the guild for total units, you will become master rank. Okay, so here you will see that Unity has all 6 stars and she is restored to her former glory. And this information will be viewable by everyone in the community. So alongside this, we have various other backgrounds that you are able to set and you are able to unlock for units. So there will be lots of viability and variability depending on what your personal tastes are. So now we're moving on to breakout activity number 2, and keep in mind that there will be a time at the end for even more questions, but essentially this activity is based around the unit cards because Emberstone is curious to get your feedback and what could be improved. Do we have any volunteers, Herdo?
For the units cards, or the profile cards, question from Becky if it's down to update ourselves, or if there is something else that will update the card, or how it works in general.
So essentially you will need to go onto the unit system website and you will need to keep your values up to date. That will then be reflected in the card itself. Because unfortunately we don't have access to the game API, so scraping that information is going to be very difficult.
Yeah, not yet. They said they might have an API at some day, but we don't know yet, so it's manual. And the profile card itself will be /profile, probably.
There you go, yep.
Quick question from Daveway. Yes, units will be outside the game. It's a website.
Yeah, exactly. And it will have integration with the Discord bot, so you don't have to visit the website all of the time. You can just look on your profile card, see how many units you have, see your ranking, your achievements, that sort of thing as well. But there will be a more expanded version available on the website, of course, with more detail.
When I've couple of questions all going in the same direction, which Relic answered in a longer text, might answer in voice as well now, or Nerys chip in, about how does 2 guilds work together and what separates them. So Hand of Unity, Home of Unity, what's the relationship, and is the Home of Unity guild the slave guild of the Hand of Unity, or etc.? Can you switch around? A lot of questions for that.
Okay, so we'll come back to that now because I think people seem quite happy with the cards. So in terms of the guilds, there is no guild which is a slave to another. There is no guild which is inferior to another. They are literally just one guild which has been spread over 2 different guilds due to basically the requirements in game and the restricted spaces. Okay, so there is no difference between a member of Hand of Unity and a member of Home of Unity. Okay, they will work together. We've done it in other games with restricted guild numbers. There are currently 2 guilds in Lost Ark. Those have worked together absolutely fine. It is possible, it will be possible, and nobody is inferior, everybody is equal. Hopefully that answers your question.
Thank you. Questions similar category about switching between the guilds. So is it possible to switch between the guilds at any time? And from Zeph also, if you're extremely active for 2 years and become inactive for 4 months because, I don't know, you're on vacation or something, will you be moved to the second guild? And also from Native, would you accept people to get involved at a later date? Since you don't know when the game comes out, and if you're in a roller coaster at that point in time, maybe have a child or whatever, and are not there for launch, will you be accepted later on?
Okay, so in terms of the 2 guilds, it's definitely possible to move between them, absolutely. Similarly with the 2 raid teams that we have planned. In terms of being inactive, if you are inactive for any period of time and you don't notify us, then chances are that, let's say you were in the standard guild, you would be moved down to the guild with, less hour requirements, because that makes sense. In terms of joining later on, there will always be availability. None of this is set in stone. So, if you have an interest in a particular guild and you express that and you're active, we will always see if we can work something out for you. The key is flexibility. Are there any questions or comments on the actual unit cards themselves, or are people generally happy?
They are. So, got multiple questions. One from Lily. Will spend units reduce max rank, or is it only decay that will reduce rank?
It's only decay that will reduce rank.
Next up, from Mr. Bacon Brat. So then, do I need to save all my points to rank up, or can I spend them all and still rank up?
You can spend them and you can still rank up. So that's why on the actual card itself, we have current units, which is what you've spent, but then we have the rank, which is irrespective of that, which is total units earned minus decay. So you have short-term on the current units, and then long-term progression on the actual total with the Phoenix and the stars.
Next question, Maltese Wolf. Also giving good feedback, loves the cards. Is the unit system and cards only for Hand of Unity primary guild or both? And if so, would the card show the guild name?
So that is something which is still to be confirmed at this point in time. It's something that we're currently considering and discussing, but we will see what we can do. The aim is to open it to basically both guilds, really, because it's a robust system.
Question from Zahir. For units, will our gear score be seen by everyone as well, or will there only be seen by management?
Yeah, gear score is going to be seen by everybody.
Yeah. If there is a gear scoring game.
Yeah, we've just put that in as placeholder for the moment.
Yeah.
But that gear score will only be what you set yourself. So, you can always set it lower if you want to surprise people.
Let me check if there are any card questions. Zep has a question.
Okay, go for it. Do keep him in mind. Hello, Zeph.
Okay. You said that the purpose behind units, or one of the reasons as to why you created it, is that so everyone can enjoy their own playstyle while still benefiting equally from guild resources. Is that correct?
Essentially, it allows you to play your own playstyle, but not fall behind when it comes to progression in other areas.
Okay, so my question is, I can already see people finding easier ways to collect tokens, like finding a meta way to collect tokens. How do you plan on balancing that out in the future?
So that's something that we will review in terms of the kind of logs, and we will take action. But we are aware that there are certain people that will try to game the system. But Herdo is very kind of, I would say, very hot on making sure that that doesn't take place. We'll make sure it's an equal playing ground for everybody.
Okay. Love you.
Love you too, man. And do keep in mind with the unit system as well, if you don't want to use it to interact with, other guildies, you just, let's say you wanted to give them a mount for free, for example, that's absolutely fine. Okay, units is just an option. It's not compulsory for everybody in every single transaction.
Okay, also Becky wants to speak.
Hello, Becky.
Hi, sorry, I couldn't be able to type it out because I didn't know how to word it. Probably a stupid question, but on the unit system, so you said it's going to be based on a website. So if we go to that website, in selecting those units, are they going to be, say, like predefined? So there's like a drop down that you select from, hey, I've done this, rather than me sat there typing out. So I went here and I done this and I got that. Is they going to be like predefined where we can just select them, or how does that work?
So essentially, when it comes to guild events, these will actually be monitored by the bot. So the bot will mark your attendance and allocate you units accordingly. So, a voice channel will be created. Mm-hmm. People can join that voice channel. It will monitor that attendance and it will update your record. If you're, say, a PvPer, for example, and you wanted to submit, screenshot proof that you'd killed Haru from home, if you got a screenshot, you could upload that. That will be reviewed, and then we will credit you the units.
Okay, and I can, not me, but anyone can kind of say, even if you're not like a PvPer, but you go and help out the PvP guys and, kill a bunch of people, it doesn't matter what kind of units you contribute. You can contribute any kind of units.
Yeah, that's it, absolutely. So, PvPers can do it that way. PvEers can kind of put up, their certain items, and other players can bid on those and spend units. They can document exchanges. Yeah, there will be, there's no separate units for PvPers or PvEers. Everybody uses the same tokens.
Perfect. Yeah, that's all. Thank you.
No problem. Thanks for your questions.
If we have time for 2 more questions.
Go on then.
Some privacy concerns or questions from Amber, Ginners, and Samages about how activity is monitored. So about in-game activity, and also the 25 hours minimum, how this is measured and taken into account. We had a short excursus there earlier. And also about how the unit system knows if you're online or not.
Okay, so in terms of privacy concerns within that information will only be available to the management. In terms of activity, I don't think you will all be surprised, but some of you may be, that your text and your voice activity is currently monitored on this Discord. So, we obviously don't know what you say, but we know how many messages you send in a week. We know how often you are on voice in a particular week, for example, and that's monitored using our stat bot. That is kind of basically done by a lot of guilds. If you do have any privacy concerns regarding that, then, I would kind of mention that to the actual developers of that bot, which isn't us. But, the main thing is we're not here to do you a disservice. We are here to monitor people, to make sure that people are pulling their weight. And I could imagine, all being well with the unit system, we will use the unit system to assess contribution, and we may not even need to use hours anymore. Okay? But, keep that in mind. No one's trying to invade your privacy. Okay? We are just making sure that you are playing fair, making sure that you are spending, the minimum 25 hours in game to be in Hand of Unity.
Amber wants to add to the question.
Go for it.
Yeah, no, my question was asked earlier already when someone said that the bot would be used to monitor. I just asked, and a couple of people were worried about the same thing, like, what if I show offline on Discord, but am still obviously in speak channels and text channels, but I show offline because I'm technically supposed to be working, for example, and would rather not show online, if that influences the way my activity is being tracked.
Okay, thank you for your question.
Very good thinking. Don't want to be showing work, and I like that. Already scavenged enough work. The game is not even out. Keep it.
But in terms of that, it monitors it whether you are offline or online. Don't worry.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Thanks for your question. Is that it, Herdo?
Yeah, what I can see. Let me check quickly. 1 second. To the cards, yes.
Lovely. We will have another Q&A shortly, so please don't worry if you still got questions. And this Q&A at the end will be open to all members of the management team. Okay, so they will all be chipping in. So, in conclusion for today, folks, okay, I'm aware, as I said, that, not everybody will get on with everybody. That is life. But I have made sure to choose a variety of different personalities, okay, to balance out this management team. It's not set in stone, and changes will happen as we go through the various testing phases, but this is something I wanted to do early, to make sure that you are familiar with people and to make sure that, the team builds synergy. And if you do have an interest in joining that management team, please do let me know. When it comes to units is, it's not there to be a big brother is watching you system. It's really there for transparency and fairness. Everybody can see how people are contributing. Okay, so that is everyone from a new trial member all the way up to me, okay? You will be able to see how I am contributing. In terms of my expectations, as a lot of you know, they are very high, but I expect players to hold me to that same standard, okay? And if I'm not doing something, please point that out, okay? Because it's important that if I expect a lot, it's only fair that you expect a lot of me in return. And if you do have any feedback in that vein, then please do feel free to leave that in the AOC chapter meeting channel, as it will shape future events. So thank you all very much for attending today. I hope you found this session useful, and it was lovely being able to chat with so many of you in one place at one time. And we will now move on to the question and answer segment. So if you have any questions for myself or any of the management team, please direct your questions to them individually and they will answer them now. Over to you, Herdo.
Oh, we got no request to speak.
So, do feel free to direct your questions if you want to type them to specific individuals.
Yeah, I got one question from Davey Wavy. Will Home of Unity have its own management, or will it just be a sort of puppet system where someone holds the title in-game, but it's run from the same joint management team?
It will have its own management team.
Okay, then Felix wants to speak.
Go for it. Hello, Felix.
Hey, matey. So with all this data, are you going to do an external GDPR assessment, and are you going to store our data in a safe place?
We currently have a privacy policy, and I will hand you over to Herdo for this.
We do have a privacy policy, yes. We don't do an external GDPR analysis. The data is stored in a safe place, as safe as it can be in a...
Because you are capturing people's times and what they're doing during the day, which falls under GDPR. You're going to have to be careful, because you could be liable for a big bill.
Yes. We are aware. It's also stated in the privacy policy, and if you are in the guild, you will have to consent to that. So, yeah.
So, whether you consent or not, doesn't matter under GDPR. You just got to be really careful.
Yeah, of course.
But guys, is it the actual amount of total hours or the actual time when you logged in and out and stuff?
So it's just the actual total hours in a particular game.
Well, okay, that's not too bad, right? I guess.
So if you are recording what people are doing during a week, you have to be very careful because you can be done for privacy breaches. So
that is... Just that, so that, the actual, say, voice activity, text activity, that is handled by an external bot. So that's not actually handled by us specifically.
But you are still liable.
even if you record just the total amount of hours and no specific times?
Yes,
Okay.
because you're tracking what people are doing.
Right.
I'm not trying to be a cock and narrow.
No, I get you. That's something that
Just be careful.
Will do, mate, and I'll certainly take that up with some legal advice as well. Most definitely.
I would.
I appreciate you bringing it up. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Immortality wants to speak. I'll bring up the questions from the channel afterwards. Don't worry, guys.
Whoa, I'm here now. Hi.
Hello.
I had the question posted, but I was like, I might as well raise my hand. If let's say we do a raid and some upgrade drops for me, and I spend my units to buy it. Let's say it costs 200 units, and for some reason the next day I get very lucky and I get a drop that is even better. Would I be allowed to resell it within the community for the same units, or like a bidding system, or would I just have to count my losses and just deduct it?
You could trade it for people for units.
I'll be very fucking surprised if that super rare drop is not banned on Equip in the first place. So,
I mean, because they said that like every single thing that drops from raid bosses is just going to be a crafting item, not actual drops. So,
I mean, yeah, I think I wouldn't see an issue with that. If someone was willing to pay you that money, that'd be absolutely fine. Or that year's units, yeah.
Pog, taking offers now. Okay, bye.
Cheers, Emo.
Adios.
Nice. So more questions from chat. Talking about units from Asker. If we're able to pay our guildmates in different currencies like mounts, gold, processed goods, or will it always be unit system?
So you can pay them in any currency that you wish, but units is just another option.
Next question. Could you please further explain guild events that will grant us units? Are they events that will help the guild progress, like gathering materials, protecting caravans, siege, raids, etc.? Or are they Halloween party in the mayor house community events like stuff?
So these will be events that help the community. So, they'd be like, just off the top of my head, for like Arcade, it was things like trade runs, defending certain areas, defending a castle, defending our node, sieging a castle, attacking a node. Could be, even kind of things like pushing a particular raid instance because we need it for certain materials, that sort of thing. It's lots of kind of different events out there, and it will be quite a wide variety of things. So whether you enjoy PvP, PvE, or crafting, don't worry. In addition, there will also be a way to earn units for doing certain things like, let's say gathering lumber because we need it to repair our walls and so
on. Another question from Oscar. I'm just gonna pick Oscar because he's the next in queue anyway, so he might ask himself.
Hello?
Hey, Oscar.
I mean, I can read my questions if you want. It's no problem. But, I queued up to ask a PvP question because I didn't know how to put it in writing. But I can read other questions as well if you want to.
I go for the PvP question then. I'll read the others.
Okay. Question for PvP coordinators, especially shot callers. As someone who likes to break the meta and play off-meta things, and I enjoy playing off-meta things in open-world PvP, but when it comes to GVGs, raid PvP, and big open-world PvP, I'm talking like 20v20, 40v40, and how 500v500 that will game allow us. How you guys gonna look at each class and make sure that everyone is playing what they're supposed to? Because I right now come from the fresh release of Arcade, and I wanted to die because people were playing builds that had no place in Raid v Raid, and we were losing because of it. How you guys plan on fixing that and make sure that everyone knows their place?
I will answer that. Ask our recent experience. You compare in a very, very casual guild, and obviously, just basically a lot of newer, older people that kind of chill time. It's a little bit different though for us because obviously we're semi-hardcore build. So if we say play the class A, don't play the B class, and you're playing a B class, will obviously question what you're doing. And by question what I'm doing, if I find you fucking playing some fucking weird ass combination class that just doesn't work in game, I will flame the shit out of you. And I'm sure many others as well. But the thing you gotta keep in mind, Aska, in this game it's a little bit different. Because you have your main class that you pick once, and then your secondary class, which you can change, but for a lot of effort. So I don't think it will be quite as comparable to Archage, if you know what I mean. When you can switch the classes on the fly.
Yeah, I agree. But still, there is like, let's say, a variety of spells, and let's say a prison is a really good spell, and someone decides not to play prison because they don't like it, and they play, I don't know, execute. And like, I'm just glad that you guys are gonna take actions and question people for doing things.
Yeah, if I can just add something to that, I think that's much more important in PvE, to be honest, because if you design to be a healing tank in Ashes and it actually works, okay, right? If it works, you have a place in PvP. That's my view on it, at least.
If you can prove it works.
Yeah.
Saying exactly. Yo, bro, it works, trust me, it doesn't count.
Yeah, like if you are like a meme stealth mage that's getting the kills and surviving, and you know that works, but you will have a different role than a traditional mage. So you will, on the roster, you will kind of be classified into a squad as more of a thief or a healer instead of a damage dealer, I guess so. And as Relic mentioned, it's all depending on the subclass you choose.
Yeah.
Can I say something quickly?
Mm-hmm.
It really depends on how the subclasses are going to function. Because if it's just going to be like flavor difference to each class rather than an actual like complete skill change, we will have to decide then. Right now, we don't really know.
Yeah, we don't know shit at the moment.
Yeah, but that was not the question. If you're great at doing something weird and that something weird is working, like no one's gonna stop you from doing that weird thing. Like, I don't know, assassin mage that one-shots everyone. Great, you can do that, and that will be your job. I'm saying like, what you guys gonna do if you say one thing and someone else do another thing? That was basically my question.
Well, I think one of the worst things to do is don't follow orders, right? Like if you're in the middle of a big fight and you're just 1v1ing some tank on the side, just wasting time, and that's way worse than having an unorthodox build. But the actual actions against that would depend on the stuff that happens and how many times it's repeated, I guess.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for the question, Oscar.
Another follow-up question from Oscar. Where do you draw a line for doing in real-life stuff, jobs for units? Will people be rewarded for units only for doing guides, aka something that will make you progress in game, like meter, builds, gathering system explained, etc.? Or will there be rewards in units for people like Emberstone, who did an amazing job with Hand of Unity cards, and Palmer, who's doing great video considering Ashes on Hand of Unity YouTube?
So that is very much, kind of TBD, really. But the main thing is, we wanted to acknowledge those people who may be putting in effort outside of game. And, at the time, at the kind of like theory crafting and building session, guides was one thing that came up. But if there is, a demand for, that there's other activities outside of game, then it's certainly something that we can explore.
Okay. Interesting question from Kaprinsky. Will Hand of Unity support Home of Unity in setting up or acquiring a guild home or guild hall, whatever? So is it a trade in both directions?
Of course, yeah. Both guilds going to be working together, most definitely.
Okay. Also, Mutant Gun, if AOC's guild system requires you to spend guild tokens to increase the guild size, which forces you to not use them to other buffs, etc. to members, do we think having separate guilds for each section would be possible, such as a PvE-only guild where they have all the PvE buffs and then the rest of the guild tokens are used to increase the guild size? Interesting concept.
it's a possibility, but the trouble is at the moment we don't really know what the buffs are going to be. We haven't really seen that kind of fully fleshed out guild system, so it's all very much subject to change, and we do want to kind of have a little look, particularly in Alpha 2, before we make any decisions like that. But it's certainly an interesting proposal.
Okay, Dabs has a question and wants to speak.
Go for it.
Yo, thanks for putting this together. I want to hop back on the whole hand and home selection process, if that's okay.
Absolutely, go ahead, buddy.
All right. So you said that like one of the major aspects in getting into hand would be participation in the community and even like playing in our official chapters. So right now the selection is kind of limited. Like over the years, it kind of like the chapters just, they got removed because people are playing all kinds of games. There are so many options these days. And right now there is basically, I think, WoW, which is active, Classic that is, and Lost Ark. And Hytale, I'm not sure. I'm not too knowledgeable about that game, but I think it's not even out. So my question is, what are your plans, or do you have any opinions, maybe like the whole management, how we could facilitate more chapters and more opportunities for the people of the different skill sets to engage with these chapters? So, I decided to play a Lost Ark with a different group because my approach was a bit too hardcore for most people who just wanted to, relax. And then some people probably want to PvP more, and I'm not sure how keen they are on WoW Arena, which I think it's the only thing you can do. So yeah, I wanted to hear your opinion or goals while we wait for Ashes, how people could get more involved and build synergy and friendships and stuff like that.
Okay, so I think I'll take this question first, and then the management team can kind of chip in afterwards. I think for me personally, this is something that comes up quite a bit. And, not to offend anybody, but I think, some of the issue is that people are incredibly picky when it comes to their games. So, at the moment, we do have the kind of WoW TBC chapter. We have the Lost Ark chapter. So, I would say give those games a try. Okay, there's a lot more to kind of WoW Classic and WoW TBC than just arenas. There's raiding, and there's dungeons, there's PvP if you want to. Similarly with Lost Ark, there are lots of different things to do. The main thing is we can't spread ourselves too thin. We can't make a chapter in every single game because one, we don't have the manpower to run those chapters, and if you start to do things like that and focus on quantity rather than quality, you start to dilute that Hand of Unity name because you're not getting server first, you're not doing anything particularly well. But that being said, we are constantly looking at new chapters to make and also other games to play. Most recently, we did discuss the possibility of playing Ark 2 and putting a chapter in that. There's also Sons of the Forest, and there's also Project Torchlight, I think it was, which is the new Lineage sequel. So, there are other opportunities on the horizon, but, we are open to new games if and when they come up. But unfortunately, at the moment, the MMO market is incredibly dry. There's not many options besides pay-to-win games or Kickstarter MMOs.
Thanks. Just to add to that, I would find it kind of weird for everyone who wants to get into Hand to now try to hop into the TBC Classic chapter, because at least that's my impression, that they are kind of established. So I think it would be somewhat weird for me to transfer over my tunes to their server and hey, I'm here now, I kind of want to play with you guys. And then in brackets, because I need to build social credit with Hand of Unity to get into the main guild. So that's why I'm asking this question.
I mean, the main thing is, it's not to build social credit. It really is just to, to do what people have signed up to do. And that's kind of play with Hand of Unity. People will be very welcoming, whether it's in WoW TBC, whether it's in Lost Ark or other games. I mean, it's essentially there are multiple different ways to get yourself onto the roster. You could not play any games, any official chapters whatsoever, and you could do other things, and that would be absolutely fine. But the main thing is, I want people who play with Hand of Unity, whether that's in official chapters, whether that's in minor games, it's entirely up to you. We want well-rounded individuals. Okay, we don't want individuals who join the Discord and then don't say a word for 3 years. We want people who get active within the community. And I'm not saying, I'm not forcing you to play certain games, but I'm just saying get involved with the community, help people out, play some minor games, maybe play some chapter games, and so on.
Cool. Thanks.
No problem. Thanks very much for your question.
Okay, Owen, I saw you. Well, we got a lot of questions in the queue, which we'll hit through now. So, from Lilypaul, what can a player similar to me expect from the guild that is putting 100 hours weekly into a game? Only units, or will there be different things to look forward to?
So essentially, you will obviously get more units, and you will have opportunities to spend those units within the guild store for in-game items. Okay, you will also have prestige. There will be lots of things that will be available, but again, we haven't even got 10% of what Ashes has available, so it's really quite difficult for me to answer that question at the moment because I don't know how the economy works and so on.
Okay, another question from Lily for PvP. I am as a support healer. How do I earn credits and PvP merits, as I would mostly function in instance, battlegrounds, and 2 to 4 man arena, open world in group, not in solo?
That's absolutely fine. There are multiple different ways that you can basically contribute. Because essentially, myself, I personally play healer and nothing else, and I will be able to build units, generate units like any other class and any other playstyle.
Another PvP-like question from Maltese Wolf regarding diplomacy. I see we have an enemy guild listed, Home. Is this a competitive but friendly relationship, or should we expect out-of-game hostility, griefing, and general ass-hattery towards them?
Oof, I'll let Relic take this one.
Can you just repeat the question very quickly? I'll just type in an answer, and I'm not very good at
Home, the guild Home. Is it a competitive, friendly relationship with them, or is it also like really fist into face relationship?
Look, right, I'll say this. In the end, everyone are playing video games for fun, right? So you gotta keep that in mind. And I know some of you will KW this a little bit. Treat people like a human being, alright, in the end. But, fuck off, don't actually KW you. Oh my god, fucking toxic cunts. But, in retrospect, so, there's a guy called Haru, who is the leader of Home. He played in RHH. He stole something called TBT Glider, which is a very, very, very rare item worth several €100 if he were to RMT it. So he's not a good guy in the first place. But the whole deal, so when Alpha 1 started, I saw him and I killed him 35 times in a row because I wanted that glider and I was going to bid for it, but he scammed it. But then he proceeded to come to voice and just say racist, horrible shit. And then additionally, he's been very, this is coming from me, he's been very, very racist to some of our members in RHH. So, it's very kind of same as friendly relationship. It's not very established, but that's how we treat. We might not even be on the same server as them, after all. You never know. They are a role-playing guild after all, so I wouldn't imagine they may go on the same server as us. other than sheer luck. So it's kind of the roleplay races, but instead of saying all Tulnar should die, they say all black people should die. And I'm not even joking. I'm not even joking when I'm saying that. I want to kind of point it out, like unironically. So yeah, hope that answers the question.
Thanks, Relic. Yeah, so, to be honest with you, they're, it's not a friendly competitive rivalry. They are generally horrible people. And I personally myself have been basically told to shut the F up because I am a C by the leader of their guild. So yeah, not friendly at all. We hate them. Thanks for your question.
Okay, let's have Owen speak up.
Hello?
Hello.
Anaris, quick question on the unit system, if possible.
Go for it.
So it's kind of a generic one, but essentially, if you're like a farmer or a potion brewer, let's say you're providing food or a service to the guild, how does the unit system intend to have like ease of use in a way of, let's say before a big raid, I dish out food buffs to 60 people. Are they able to go onto my account on the website and just send me units, or do I have to note down everyone's name and then after the raid, sit down like a doctor and basically spend 60 minutes manually adding credits for each potion I handed out at the end?
So essentially what I would advise in that kind of scenario was that, you go onto the unit website and you just basically trade them directly with the guild. You will be credited those units after, approval. And then, essentially you can leave those food items with us and then we would give them out to save you the hassle.
Okay. Thank you.
So, you depending on the need, you may say get four tokens per food item or 3 or 5 and so on.
Okay. Thank you.
Next up is Palmer.
Hello, Palmer.
Hello again. I was going to ask this isn't about home, and this isn't anything to do with griefing or out of game or anything. I was going to ask this before that. But what are we aiming for in PvP? Are we aiming to have good fights, or are we aiming to destroy our enemies and dominate the server? Because they're not quite the same thing, and different guilds, you can be a PvP guild, but different PvP guilds have different philosophies. So I'm wondering what we're going to do. I'll leave you to guess which one I prefer.
I would love to take this one.
Go for it.
Winning. That's just the only word I want to say. Like winning is fun. So if you win, you get fun. I guess. I don't see it possible in Ashes that you go for the smaller fight with less rewards just to have more fun. Like you just want to destroy people, I guess. So
I think the main thing is, we aim to dominate our server, but at the end of the day, we don't want to be seen as a guild like Home, full of toxic people who are racist, sexist, abuseful, and just nasty, pretty much. We want to maintain a reputation for ourselves, but we don't want to be a pushover.
Basically,
follow up. So you go, Malco.
Basically, our PvP is always going to have purpose, and it's not just to grief people.
Just a follow-up question. Best way to look at it, right? Especially from PvP players' perspective. Yes, winning is nice and winning is fun, but to those who played New World, you may necessarily know winning is all good, but when there's no challenge for the server, people get bored and people quit. In the end, it's all good and nice if you're winning, but if you demolish all your competition, where's the fun in that? In my ideal scenario, like 400 Unity members, and this is for me personally, I would like people, and all of us, not just PvP players, to strive to win against the odds. Right? Because you know what's better than winning? Winning when you're outnumbered 4-1. And I think many people will find, although it is unfair, it makes that winning so much better. Being the underdogs, yes. Of course, it is a very, very, very difficult decision to make, when you come into server. because being completely honest, it will be a big discussion, I anticipate. I think Naris will agree on that. And I still get new world flashbacks from selecting a server because, PvP focused game. Party A doesn't want many queues, Party B wants an active server, Party C wants to fight this guild, Party D wants to fight the other guild. And unfortunately, it won't please everyone, and that's the truth of it. But generally, we're not just striving to win, we're striving to improve in all regards.
Yeah, and just to kind of reach out to Palmer personally, so we're aiming for those good old days of Arcade, Palmer, with Aurorian Empire, where we dominated the oceans. We were seen as a kind of a mean force, but we were also seen as one of the decent guilds, for being respectful and basically doing what we say we're going to do.
Like a sort of a benevolent dictator.
Yes, exactly.
King.
What I put at the top of my CV. Thanks, Palmer.
I'm going to put some more beasts on the Discord. Thank you very much.
Thanks for that, Palmer.
More ships.
Cheers, man.
Okay, we got a lot of questions still. I feel like we're on Asher's live stream and we got more questions than we can answer.
Well, keep in mind we're only going to go for about another 20 minutes.
Yeah. Try to pick some good ones. Quick question from Avion. I will compensate this. Will there be negative units if you are naughty or bullying or whatever?
Not currently, no. If you get to that point, you'll just be booted out.
Okay. From Wild Claws, how about the priority of raiders for siege or raids? How will the secondary guild be prioritized? Like if I have an evening where I can raid, if I am in the secondary guild.
So, in terms of raiding, is Niar here? I know Niar to head off.
I think yes, but not on stage.
Okay. I don't know if Niar wanted to field these questions. I just know he's quite busy moving today. Jump up if you are Niar. If not, I'll take it.
I invited him.
Okay.
Oh, he's not coming up.
That's all right, not to worry. I'll handle this one. So in terms of raiding, the current plan is to have 2 raid teams. So we will have one raid team, which is a little bit more hardcore and focuses on progression. And then we will have a second raid team that is a bit more casual and, will be pushing less hard. Individuals, regardless of whether you're in, Hand of Unity or Home of Unity, you are both welcome to apply for each of those raiding groups, and your guild position will not dictate that whatsoever. It's equal opportunities. And individuals, just to add to that as well, individuals will be moving between these 2 raid groups as well, depending on availability and depending on player availability.
Okay, got a long question from Sorf. I rushed through it.
Okay.
Last stream they showed the Alpha 2 Ocean boss survey. So just using that as a PvX example, let's say we as a guild try to fight the Ocean boss. It's in the open world, so any players, group or guild could show up anytime to try and engage wipe us to take over the raid. Who do we listen to when it comes to the question of stay on the boss, or one group stay on the boss and rest engage the other group, guild, or abandon the boss entirely, etc.? Does the raid, the leader stay in control or have to hand it over to PvP? Would the PvP shot callers take control of the situation and say, do this? A lot of this depends on what happens at the time and how the raids is going, etc. But just wondering what happens if the situation makes the guild roads overlap.
So essentially, this kind of takes me back to Arcade, really, back in the day. You would have, separate leads. You would have an individual or a lead who is responsible for clearing the boss. You would have 1, maybe even 2 or 3 PvP leads who will command separate teams who will break off from the boss if we come, under attack or if enemies get nearby. The raid lead on the PvE side will keep a focus on that boss and, ensure that it doesn't reset and ensure it doesn't leash, while the PvP lead would then lead the PvPers or PvP leads to deal with those invaders. If needed, we would take some extra, say, PvEers off of the boss to back up the PvP raid team, but this will be coordinated on where we have a server called Mumble, and those of you who played in New World will be basically quite familiar with Mumble. And Mumble allows you to use different commands to talk to people individually or to certain groups, so they would coordinate using this. So the PvEers would, I'm calling them PvEer just for this example, but the people who are attacking the boss wouldn't be disturbed unless they needed to be.
Just a follow-up from that, for those of you that didn't play Warlord, Mumble is kind of on TeamSpeak, but a good thing, apart from Discord, is it allows shot callers to cross-communicate with other party/leaders. So, for example, in New World, we had a main squad of 30 people. So, for example, I would be shot calling the main group movements, for example, go left, pull at the back, can you stop fucking 1v1 and then push ahead, what the fuck are you doing, stuff like that. But I would also be in contact with the other leaders. So for example, JJ, on one time I put him on cannons. I still think he didn't forgive me for that, but he and 4 others, they were at the back cannons. So I would say something along the lines of, yo JJ, can you give us support on C, they're pushing, we're going to rotate there in 5 seconds. Or JJ, they're pushing hard, can you blow the hole for protection buff? And then same again, we would have another person with the backline squad of like 15 people, and I would say, can you fight at the front a little bit on B? I can't really spare any man, and we'll just shuffle. Obviously, this is only 50 people, but from the feedback I've had, it worked really, really well. I would go as far to say the fact that we had Mumble is why one of the main reasons we dominated on our initial server on New World so far, just by allowing us that having clear comms and maneuverability. Obviously, Ashes will have a much bigger hopeless scale up to 250 people, but we'll decide as we get close. So, potentially multiple squads of multiple people. So, for example, Cadden, Voltron, Malco, me, all having 1 each, and then cross-speaking with each other. From a member point of view, you don't need to worry about it. You just need to join the voice and listen to your raid commander. And that's it, really.
Lovely. Thank you, Relic. And thanks for the question.
Okay. We got 2 questions regarding units and abusing the system from that phase. This token system can be easily abused. Is there any way to prevent this? And also from Asker, if your tokens are about to expire, like 1 day before, if you trade them with a friend, they get a new duration and stay alive for another 90 days. What are we going to do about abusing this? Or, well, preventing this abuse?
So I believe, Herder, correct me if I'm wrong, but you will have logs and kind of mechanisms in place to see, if people are actively abusing the system. If you are abusing the system, you will be removed from the roster. Okay?
Yeah.
That's my simple response. At the end of the day, you will be gone.
Yeah. This will be in place. And I think I read in the chat somewhere, we might bring up taxes if this is overly used in general, maybe as well. So you lose tokens on a trade. Maybe. But not planned yet. Question from Cracks. When we go to the units page, there will be a list of stuff the guild needs that we can pick up to do.
Absolutely. Yeah, there will be, and there will be, certain priorities given to certain, basically, like I say, lumber or herbs and things like that, and they will pay more units based upon, what the guild needs at that exact moment in time, most definitely.
Okay, another units question from Blaspheme. If we help the guild on the spot in a way which wasn't planned by the unit system, will we have to relate our actions to be rewarded retroactively? As a management group, discuss the implementation of this kind of events?
So in terms of the management and admin of units, that will be handled by the management team. So don't worry too much from your end. Your main responsibility will just be to keep your unit profiles up to date. So essentially, your character levels, your artisan skills, that sort of thing. That's the main thing that you'll need to do, and we'll handle most of the rest.
I might add, if you stand out and we note you do something very good for the community, you will be awarded extraordinary tokens.
Yep, and in addition, there may even be achievement badges that you can display on your unit profile for certain things.
Okay, then there's 2 questions regarding raiding, PvE raiding. One from Dave Way. Will raid sign up be first come, first served?
So raid signups. Oh, that's a question for Niar. But I think in WoW Classic, when we ran the raids, it was basically a case of the individuals who got to basically max level first, they got into the raid. But then based upon that, it was a case of, those players would drop out, because often players do in any new MMO or any raiding situation. And then those are replaced with other individuals. And if there are too many individuals to fit everybody in the 2 raid teams, we would also run rotations, which would involve benching certain people to give everyone the opportunity. But that is a question for Niar. So do send Niar a DM, because he's just packing his computer into his car, I think.
More raiding questions from Ember. As for attending raids in Ashes, I know that in ArcAge I used to have entire days of going from boss to boss to Delphi ship to boss. It was a massive administrative task to keep track of who got DKP for what boss. How do you plan on handling that in AOC? Sub-questions. A. Will there be day-long raiding, or will there be a certain time frame that most raids will take place?
So I believe there will be a certain time zone, but again, I can't really answer this question until we know more about the raid bosses themselves, the raiding and the lockout timers and things like that. We will find a solution, because personally this is me personally, I want the raiding system to be separate from units, because I think raiding is an entirely separate beast. But that's something that we can certainly discuss and debate later on, nearer the time, because, we need a system that works for everybody and isn't just my personal preference.
Sub-question B. Do you get units based on how much of the raid you attend, or does it get tracked at the beginning or the end of the raid?
So,
answer that.
Kind of difficult to answer, but I'm assuming that there's no unit system involved with the raids. Then you will essentially have attendance kind of monitored, and you will be given the relevant amount of, let's just call it DKP for now, the relevant amount of DKP per boss downed. So that it will dictate how many bosses you are there for, and how many you take down, or how long you were in the raid, or if the actual raid leader gives you some pity DKP because we couldn't down a particular boss, for example.
And sub-question C, how lenient will you be for people that have to take a break for whatever in real life reason, like walking dog, feeding kid, having dinner, etc.? I guess during a raid time zone slot.
So that might be a little bit more tolerated in the casual raid group, but not so much in the progression raid, because every minute counts, really.
Another question. Guild Bank raiding related from Genos. How will the guild plan to handle legendary item drop, for example, Dragon Eggs, which give the flying mount? Will it be under a unit system where everyone can just blow up the entire point to get it, or will there be another way to decide who to get the legendary?
Oof, on something legendary like a dragon egg. Oof, I think that's a pretty special thing. It would largely depend on, how the systems work, how long it lasts for, and that sort of thing. But I think something like that I would probably roll out at the time for everyone to have a who was there to have a chance on, because I think it's a really special drop. It's kind of like the Baron Rivendale's mount in WoW TBC in the it's not one Scholomance, was it? It was Stratholme. So I think I'd probably roll that there and then.
Can I just add another question here?
Go for it, mate.
I seen the Lens BDD mentioned in our chat about people about testing periods of time to see which people can work together in squads. Okay, So we kind of already answered that in the chat, but my experience is that obviously you're always going to have either couples that play together, that want to be together in a squad no matter what, or people that don't really like each other. Now, I've seen being mentioned in chat that you can actually make smaller groups of like 5 people and work it up to 25 team or 50 team. But I think one important thing to mention is that if you're ever in a squad and you just mention like, dude, I can't play with this person, that's just horrible, man. It's making me not enjoy it. Save those comments for later and just PM an officer after the fight. Like never ever just make drama in chat during a fight. I think that's the main thing, because if you just take your time and mention to an officer after, then we can take it into account with making the squads for the next one.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good point, mate. So, the main thing is, with all of these rules, with all of these guidelines and the ways that we do things, flexibility is key. Nothing is set in stone. And, at the end of the day, we are all here to play a game. So, it's not meant to feel like a job, and we will work with people. So, for example, people weren't able to attend this chapter meeting tonight. Those people DM'd me. Wasn't a problem. They explained the situation. A recording's going to be available. They told me in good time, so that's not an issue. Okay, I'm not a head teacher. I'm not your mum or your dad. I'm not your boss at work. So the main thing is just work with us, and we can be very flexible, and we will work with you.
Thank you. I got 2 more questions. If you want to bring in your question and I didn't ask yet, you got 6 more minutes to write it down and ping me. Meanwhile, from Fane, I know from previous question we aim to dominate and be a prominent presence on the server, but will we also aim to make alliances with other guilds who may control nodes? Also, if we do ally with others, how will trading work with these other guilds? Say if we wish to trade for resources but lacked the in-game currency but had lots of units as a player, would there be a way we can convert our units with the guild for in-game currency, maybe from like a guild bank?
That's the potentially, but that is something that's open to kind of abuse. We will most definitely have allies in game, and we are currently, in talks with various different communities, and a couple of communities have even asked us to be in an alliance, but we personally felt it was a little bit too soon because we haven't seen that guild in action, and we haven't seen how the game actually runs and if it really requires alliances. Our latest potential alliance, which is currently a friendly guild, is a guild called Nephilim, and they are also looking at going into Arc 2 with us because they are huge Arc players. They've played for thousands of hours each. So, we will be building relationships with friendly guilds ahead of release, and also during Alpha 2, Beta 1 and Beta 2. So, when it comes to guild alliances, watch this space. But units is an internal currency system.
Currently, last question is from Kaprinsky. Since we got so many people here, could we poll people and gauge interest in Hand of Unity and Ashes of Creation chapter displays, or in general merchandise of Hand of Unity and Ashes of Creation chapter?
So I would say that is, something that, if there's enough interest, we can look at getting it done. So if you would be interested in this, please DM Kaprinsky, and he will take a list of everybody that's interested, and we will see how we are doing in terms of interest. Any other questions in the last 4 minutes?
Last 4 minutes. Interest in displays.
Displays.
Merchandise.
Kaprinsky, could you put a link in the chat for people? It's basically displate, essentially, and it's like metal plates that you can have images put onto. There you go. Kaprinsky has linked it in the Ashes of Creation chapter meeting general discussion. I've also pinned it as well if it gets lost. There we go. Any other questions, folks?
Doesn't look like it.
Okay, well, in that case, folks, thank you all very much for attending tonight and choosing to spend 2 hours with us listening to my voice. It's greatly appreciated. Please do leave feedback for the meeting if you haven't done so already, because the meeting feedback really does help. You know, it shows us what's going well, what isn't going quite so well, and it allows us to make changes. If any other questions do crop up, please feel free to DM myself or any other member of the management team. But it's been a pleasure, and I hope to catch you in game soon. Take care and bye for now.